Hello, welcome to Armchair Sports Talk. It was a great first week of NFL action, so today we're going to look back at week one and look forward to week two. So let's get into it. We started off NFL football with the Packers and Bears. It wasn't a very exciting game. Nothing really to write home about, but the Packers get the victory in a home contest, and that's good for my predictions as far as being accurate. We predicted the Packers would win, and they did. Better quarterback. Mitchell Trubisky didn't really develop as much as some people would have liked over the offseason, it appears. And also the play calling was a little unique from Coach Nagy. He has a reputation for great scripted play calls to begin games. And as we see by the 3 points that the Bears scored, they did not get going at all. Allen Robinson had a pretty good game. He's their most talented receiver. No Trey Burton, so that took away some options from Mitchell Trubisky. Aaron Rodgers did what he had to. The one pass that he did complete to Jimmy Graham for a touchdown was either a work of art or a lucky kind of mini Hail Mary. He just floated up there, and Jimmy Graham did a good job. So not too much to really harp on there. The Packers will face the Vikings in week 2, and we'll look into that when we get to our preview. But we want to touch on every game, so we'll move along here quickly. Being a Falcons fan, there wasn't too much to write home about. But one thing to note for fantasy purposes, Matt Ryan threw the ball 46 times, got 304 yards and 2 touchdowns. They only scored 12 points. So there's something to Matt Ryan and his underrated fantasy success from last year into this year. Changing coordinators is something that has affected him negatively, but he did put up some statistics there. Kirk Cousins threw for under 100 yards. So you put your finger over the panic button, just don't press it yet. Maybe after this week, if we have another awful Kirk Cousins performance, we can try to figure out what to do there. But the Vikings get the win 28-12 behind a strong presence behind Dalvin Cook. He was one of the guys we touted on DraftKings for daily fantasy, and he delivered with 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. I wish I had the courage to make this pick on the Titans. The Titans went into Cleveland and dismantled the Browns. Hopefully it was like a wake-up call, because I still think the Browns, with all this talent, and it's just great that Cleveland has something to cheer for, and I think that they're a much better team, and they'll put a better product on the field next week. So don't read too much into it. The Titans crushed the Browns 43-13. Delaney Walker is a good fantasy player. Don't forget that moving forward. He's probably the number 1 receiving option, wide receiver, and otherwise on the Titans. So just keep that in mind. Status quo with the Browns. Don't panic one way or another. The Ravens just beat down on the Dolphins 59-10. It was really nice of them to let them score 10 points, to be honest. Lamar Jackson threw 5 touchdowns. He could do no wrong. That's not what Lamar Jackson is known for. So as we keep our focus on daily fantasy, Lamar Jackson has a reputation for being a good running quarterback. And this one game, because it was the first game of the season, is going to make a strong impression for a lot of people. So don't go out there trying to get Lamar Jackson pass catching options, because this will most likely be short-lived, and it's just a great way to keep other teams off kilter moving forward. So we go over to the Bills-Jets game. Close game between two teams that are pretty evenly matched, but headed in different directions. I think the Bills are coming together a little bit, and they'll be able to scrape together a few more wins. The Jets appear to be kind of dismantling due to injury, and then just a handful of other issues that are looking like sickness, just health in general. So Sam Darnold is going to be out. Le'Veon Bell missed practice. He may be back. Quincy Enunwa was out for the season with a nagging neck injury, so we wish him the best. So just a bunch of missing pieces there, and some I probably forgot. But to be honest, just update rosters on a game day, and there might not really be too much that you want to start with the Jets anyway. But that's unfortunate, and as they head different directions, the Bills win 17-16. The Redskins covered the 10-point spread. It was a little steep to start the season for a divisional game. The Eagles were the better team, and they prevailed 32-27. The Rams outlasted the Panthers. That was just a tough game for both teams, because the Rams had to travel across country, and the Panthers had to host the Super Bowl runner-ups in game 1. And unfortunately, my prediction of the Panthers to win the Super Bowl has them off to a 0-1 start, but nothing to worry about as they play the Buccaneers tonight. And we'll just take a quick peek over here. That line is a 7-point projected win for the Panthers. It pays out even money, which is nice. I don't think the Bucs are as bad as we like them to be. And whenever you want to write off Jameis Winston, he can have one of those amazing games that restores faith, only for him to let you down again. But that's in the future. So I actually like Tampa Bay +7, but I do think Carolina gets the win in this game as they play at home. So let's keep that in mind and move on. The Panthers ended up losing to the Rams 27-30. Todd Gurley actually played. Before I move on, Todd Gurley actually played more than 50% of the snaps. It was just kind of coincidence, in my opinion, with Malcolm Brown getting the goal line work. So don't write him off just yet. And as we take another sneak peek to fantasy purposes, Yahoo Daily Fantasy has underpriced Todd Gurley significantly. So some opportunity this week as we move forward. The Chiefs beat the Jaguars. The Chiefs are just an amazing team. I thought with the early Tyreek Hill injury, and I saw Patrick Mahomes limping off at one point. Just kind of piecing together this kind of hodgepodge team that was able to put 40 points on a pretty good defense, in my opinion. So the Chiefs are legit. They play the Raiders at Oakland this week, and I think that they continue moving forward. Sammy Watkins had an amazing game, 9 receptions, 198 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Wish I played a little bit more of him in daily fantasy. I only had him in my stacking option with Patrick Mahomes, so that lineup did okay. My net, just to be honest, was negative on the first week, but we'll look to make that back up here. Moving to the Chargers and Colts game, this was never going to be an easy win. It went into overtime. The Chargers held on at home. Jacoby Brissett's a more than capable quarterback. The Colts are a good team. So a 6-point loss going out to L.A. is an honorable thing to accomplish, and they can move forward from there. Chargers don't appear like they can stop the run, with Marlon Mack racking up 174 yards. Austin Eckler also had himself a game with 3 touchdowns. He can kind of do it all, for lack of a better phrase. He's not Marshall Faulk by any means, but he can catch, he can run, and I'll work on my references because Marshall Faulk hasn't played in a while. We're going to go to Cincinnati at Seattle. Seattle was a huge favorite in this game. I didn't see it. I didn't talk about it a lot, but that's why I didn't, is because the Bengals actually scared me going to Seattle. Both of these teams are not very good. The Seahawks actually are better coached. So I can't say they're better coached. Zach Taylor for the Bengals is the new coach. But from what I know about Pete Carroll, the Seahawks have a very old-fashioned run first, defense, play hard approach to football, and that allowed them to grind out this win 21-20. Joe Mixon got hurt. This was my big money lineup for DraftKings. So Joe Mixon getting hurt and putting up very few stats was very unfortunate. Did not see the John Ross success at all. So we can all comfortably play him next week, so he can all let us down. So he can let us all down. The Seahawks won 21-20. The Cowboys beat the Giants 35-17. Saquon Barkley on 11 carries gets 120 yards, so I don't see any reason why they should give him any more than 11 carries. I think that was great coaching by the Giants staff. Dak Prescott tossed 4 touchdowns. Just they looked unbelievable. I don't know. Ziku, Dak, whatever you want to say about them. Let's give them some time to show us who they are, but good start by the Cowboys, 1-0 beating a bad team. You can only beat the teams you play. And here's where my betting pick went wrong. The Lions. The Lions went up comfortably, and then they said, you know what? Why should we let Sterling win his parlay bet when we can just give this game back to the Cardinals? So through a series of awful play calling, awful execution, awful decision making, they were up more than they were up 3 scores and allowed the Cardinals to come back in the fourth quarter to force overtime, where neither team really wanted to win. So of course it ended in a tie. So that was, just avoid the Lions if you can in betting, because I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. 49ers won in unconventional fashion. Their defense played very well, but Jameis Winston is known for some really amazing play on offense and then some really horrible play. So there was some bad play by Jameis Winston, including some fumbles that allowed the 49ers to capitalize in Tampa 31-17. The Patriots blitzed the Steelers 33-3. There's not much to say there. Big Bet on the road's been bad. Tom Brady and the Patriots, Bill Belichick and the Patriots, Antonio Brown and the Patriots. They've had forever to prepare for this game. The Steelers were losing talent. The Patriots are acquiring talent. It was kind of predestined. Sony Michel didn't do much. That kind of concerned you with Bill Belichick and running backs. He has a tendency to switch them out at a moment's notice. But if you have Sony Michel, let's hope he can regain his footing against a bad Dolphins team as we look forward. Monday Night Football was amazing. The Saints and Texans. Saints win 30-28. Drew Brees looked okay. I think they moved the ball pretty good between the 20s, and then for whatever reason they weren't up 2 to 3 scores like predicted. But Michael Thomas gets over 100 yards. Alvin Kamara is used regularly. And then let's just fast forward to the end of the game. What an ending for the game. The Saints just let the Texans go downfield. I haven't seen that kind of performance from Deshaun Watson since the national championship game, or when he went into Seattle, or all the other times that he did it. Deshaun Watson is a PT player, to use copyright infringement terms from ESPN, but he's really good. What the Texans did that upset me was they touched Ted Ginn Jr. after he went down in the middle of the field. If they didn't touch him, my understanding is the clock would continue to run. I don't believe a wide receiver can give himself up the same way that a quarterback can. And if the play was ongoing with more time running off, they would not have been able to burn their timeout after the play stopped. So I think that would have been a much better ending if the Texans were able to win after that comeback. But unfortunately, that gets swept under the rug, and we forget about Deshaun Watson and his great abilities there. Hopefully he doesn't get hit as much. And then the last part of my parlay that should have been in place had the Lions done what they needed to do was just the Raiders continuing to fall apart. All offseason, it was just Antonio Brown this, Antonio Brown that. As I referenced earlier, he's with the Patriots now. So I guess him leaving was the cure-all in all of this, because the Broncos were supposed to have a great coach with Vic Fangio, I think his name is, coming from the Bears, and that defense he helped coordinate last year. They have experienced quarterback in Joe Flacco. They have John Elway as the president of operations. They don't have the Hard Knocks drama. They don't have the Antonio Brown drama. And they go to Oakland and lose. They were losing the whole game. They started off losing and they finished losing. They didn't look too bad. I mean, I'm not going to complain, but the Raiders, man, they really they earned this win. So I don't want to take anything away from them, but man, you have everything lined up, and nobody predicted that, not that I've seen anyway. So kudos to the Raiders. They win 24-16. Josh Jacobs looks like a stud. We don't know how they play when they're playing from behind, but he got 23 carries. He's the workhorse. Cortland Sutton surprised with over 100 yards, but Emmanuel Sanders is still out there playing very well after coming off an Achilles injury. And that's our recap of week one. What stood out to me is Antonio Brown steals the spotlight no matter what. I keep saying his name, but I haven't even referenced the more recent allegations that he's had. He has some pending civil suit involving sexual assault. So there's no jokes to be made about that, but now we have some serious allegations to go along with all the antics that were going on. So we'll let the investigation take place. I believe the NFL is moving forward, gathering information to figure out what to do. And I think in the meantime, he should be on the field. So we'll see how that plays out. In daily fantasy, I would not really look at playing Antonio Brown, or season-long fantasy either. We're going to go and look ahead, not just to tonight's game with that 7-point spread. We're going to look at a couple other betting lines and over-unders that catch my attention. The Colts and Texans, it's a 3-point game. That's going to be a tough one, probably decided by the last seconds in a divisional battle between two overall very good teams. The Los Angeles Chargers go to the Lions. I think that the Chargers are the better coach team, they're better talented team, but Mike Williams is dealing with an injury. They're already working with their backup running backs. Hunter Henry's out with an injury. I don't know. It's a tough one. In my opinion, that's just a stay-away game. The Bills are on the road in New York. They get to stay in the New York area because they played the Jets last week. So they're favored by 1.5 points. I feel like the only thing you have to worry about with the Giants is Saquon Barkley. So if they're able to load the box, stack the defense up there to make the odds forever in their favor, I kind of like the Bills at 1.5 point favorites, but we'll move on. The Ravens at home against the Cardinals. I think this is the lock of the money line bet, but the Ravens were picked as my eliminator pick last week. So for anybody who didn't use them and is still alive, I'd say go ahead and use the Ravens at home against the Cardinals. I'm going to go ahead and just click on that real quick and see what they would look like as part of a parlay bet. The Patriots favored by 18.5 at Miami. Historically, the Patriots have trouble with Miami. I don't see how that can happen this time. So will keep moving along. They're just way too talented, way better coached. The coach of the Dolphins came from the Patriots last year, and the Patriots didn't seem too bothered in trying to keep him around. And he went to a Dolphins situation, so I don't know. It just doesn't. It feels like there's a blowout coming, even though history shows that the Dolphins play the Patriots tough. The Cowboys are on the road at Washington, but Washington loses Darius Geis. I don't think Case Keenum's is that good. And we're going to go with a kind of safe bet here. I think the Cowboys are able to win this game. So Ezekiel Elliott's got another week of practice, and he seemed like he's in game shape as they manage his workload. The Texans at home against the Jaguars seems like a safe bet, and it feels like a trap. But those are the kind of bets we make. The Pittsburgh Steelers are at home as the Seattle Seahawks fly across country, Washington to Pennsylvania. I think the Steelers win this game. -4 is the spread. I would even take the spread. It'll be a close game, but if you can get it under 3, that would be nice. So if you're doing any teasers or things of that nature, that would be a fun one. San Francisco +2 at Cincinnati. It's a stay away. That's just two teams that I don't know what's going on there. I guess, you know what, San Francisco +2. It's on the road. It's tough to win 2 road games in the NFL, but Joe Mixon's questionable. He may not play. Tevin Coleman's out, but I don't really think that's going to affect the Niners too much. I kind of like San Francisco in that. So we'll just click on them and see what this looks like. It'll give us 5. Minnesota +3 at Green Bay. That'll just be a good game to watch. If forced to pick, I kind of like my Minnesota pick to win the Super Bowl. It pays 25 or somewhere in that neighborhood to 1. Kansas City is only favored by 7 at Oakland. I think that Kansas City really keeps things moving forward, and Oakland kind of falls back to who we predicted they would be. New Orleans, 2.5-point underdogs at the LA Rams. I would lean towards the Rams in that playing at home and outside, not Drew Brees' favorite thing to do, play on the road and outside. The Bears at the Broncos feels like a trap game. Everybody expects the Bears to be really good, and we saw the Broncos lose to the Raiders. So I'm going to resist the urge to click on the Bears, which I would want to, but just put a little bit of thought behind that. We don't want any tricks to catch us there. The Browns at the Jets. I mentioned that they were going through a good amount of turmoil with some injuries and health concerns. So we came up with a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a little risky. A 7-team parlay. It's a little risky from the number of teams, but you have some money line bets, which, again, you don't have to sweat out how they win. All they need to do is win, as well as the Niners +2. And that's pretty much it. So $5 bet pays $45. You have a 9-to-1 advantage there, and we'll finish up with some pricing discrepancies that lead to even more value. On DraftKings at quarterback, we're going to look at a Big Ben stack with a run back option of Seattle. This is just perfect. You have a Big Ben Roethlisberger playing at home. You have the Seattle run game. So if you get into a shootout where the Seahawks are playing with the lead somehow and the Steelers come back to win the game at home, you have a game script that is conducive to getting some money in the daily fantasy. So on DraftKings, we'll look at that. On FanDuel, we like Patrick Mahomes stacked with Travis Kelce and I forget the wide receiver's name. I'm going to look it up now. Hardman on the Chiefs with Kelce and running back with Waller. That'll give you 2 tight ends that most teams won't have. On Yahoo, Mitchell Trubisky is the bare minimum. I don't think that Denver defense is anything to write home about. We saw Derek Carr have success, and I don't necessarily think he's the greatest. On DraftKings running back, I love Austin Eckler. I love Alvin Kamara. On FanDuel, I love Saquon Barkley and a combo of either Ezekiel Elliott or Dalvin Cook. I like Todd Gurley a lot on Yahoo. He's at $18, which is almost criminal. I think he's going to get enough time to do well there. Tyrell Williams on DraftKings. Who do I have on FanDuel? Sammy Watkins on FanDuel. And, again, Hardman on Yahoo. He's the bare minimum. I think he's going to fill right into that Tyreek Hill role. Hawkinson on Detroit is $3,000 on DraftKings at tight end. That's a good play. George Kittle's the play at tight end on FanDuel, and then Waller from Oakland. He's been getting rave reviews all offseason, and man, did he live up to them. They gave him so many targets in Oakland. It's he really did a good job with all of that opportunity. So we'll definitely have some exposure to Waller moving forward. The defenses, it gets a little dicey. I somewhat like Houston. I don't know if we're going to buy into the quarterback for Jacksonville that filled in as being a good quarterback. He played well, but now that they have a little bit of tape on him and they can prepare Houston with J.J. Watt, Merciless, and a prepared defense, and hopefully a little bit more competency in the coaching staff, will be able to handle that. So I do like the Texans defense a little bit, but I'd probably, if I could, pay up and just get Baltimore at home against the Cardinals. The Redskins at home for FanDuel, they make a good defensive option. The Cowboys, uh, they played very well against the Giants, but the Giants aren't a good defense. The Washington Redskins are above average, in my opinion, and you're going to get some ownership leverage. Of course, ownership leverage is very good, as it'll allow you to move up in the standings while everybody else is standing still or going the opposite direction. For Yahoo, the prices lend me to play Dallas defense against Washington, who's a bad offense, and Buffalo Bills facing Eli Manning and the Giants. But Eli Manning's kind of like a statue back there. So some rumblings that he may get benched in favor of Daniel Jones. That's kind of our rundown of everything. Be sure to check out Armchair Sports Talk, our Facebook page, and us on social media. And we'll be posting some football-related picks, some DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, betting picks, and just some commentary in general. Feel free to chime in. We always appreciate it. Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.